I didn't see him. I wasn't backstage when he came.
For years, Hulk Hogan was the face of professional wrestling, a living legend in red and yellow who told fans to believe in themselves and always do the right thing. But behind the flashy entrances and thunderous leg drops, a very different story was brewing backstage. Now, The Undertaker, one of WWE's most respected icons, is pulling back the curtain on the real Hulk Hogan, and it's not a flattering picture. In candid interviews, the dead man opens up about the egos, betrayals, and backstage politics that poisoned locker room morale and left many of his fellow wrestlers fed up with Hogan's manipulative ways. If you grew up idolizing Hogan, prepare yourself. The truth, as told by The Undertaker, might change how you see him forever. Wrestling in the 1980s, a perfect storm of glory and exploitation. To truly understand the gravity of Hogan's betrayal, we need to step back into the wrestling world of the mid-1980s. This was a time when the wrestling business was booming like never before. Cable TV was exploding, pay-per-view was becoming a staple, and the WWF's WrestleMania was cementing itself as a cultural phenomenon. Stars like Hogan, Andre the Giant, and Randy Savage were household names, adored by fans around the globe. But beneath the bright lights and roaring crowds, the reality for the wrestlers themselves was grim. Wrestlers were classified as independent contractors, a designation that stripped them of the protections and benefits that most workers take for granted. No health insurance, no retirement plans, no job security, just the relentless grind of a brutal schedule, traveling 300 days a year, performing physically punishing matches, often with injuries that would plague them for life. It was a harsh existence, one that would have drawn the ire of any modern labor advocate. Men and women risking their bodies for the entertainment of millions, yet left to navigate a dangerous industry with no safety net. Wrestlers were expected to give everything, but at the end of their careers, many found themselves broken, alone, and struggling to survive. Jesse Ventura, the wrestler who dared to dream of a union. Amidst this backdrop of exploitation, Jesse Ventura stood out, not just for his charismatic mic skills or unique wrestling persona, but for his sharp mind and sense of justice. Ventura had seen firsthand the stark contrast between his fellow wrestlers and his Hollywood colleagues. After filming Predator in 1987, he returned to the wrestling world with a new perspective. In Hollywood, actors were members of the Screen Actors Guild, SAG, a powerful union that ensured they received health benefits, retirement security, and collective bargaining power. Wrestling had none of this. For Ventura, the difference was glaring and unacceptable. He became a passionate advocate for wrestlers' rights, rallying his peers to unionize. "Now is our time to unionize," Ventura declared. He recognized the unique moment. With WrestleMania's massive media spotlight, the wrestlers held a rare form of leverage. If they refused to perform unless union negotiators were brought in, the law would require management to take them seriously. Ventura's vision was not just about healthcare or money, it was about dignity. He spoke about the countless wrestlers who had dedicated decades to the sport, only to face poverty and pain without any support. "What about all the guys I've seen that give 30 years to this business, and in the end, they ain't got a pot to put it in or a window to throw it out of?" he asked. A union could change that, cut healthcare costs, provide retirement benefits, and protect those who had given everything to the sport. A fateful encounter in Las Vegas. The inspiration of Gene Upshaw. Sometimes life's most pivotal moments happen when you least expect them. For Jesse Ventura, a wrestler with a sharp mind and a restless spirit, that moment came in an elevator in Las Vegas. He found himself standing next to Gene Upshaw, a giant not just in size but in influence. Upshaw was no ordinary man. He was a former NFL offensive guard turned president of the NFL Players Association, the most powerful labor union in professional sports. Ventura remembers the encounter vividly. With a casual but firm gesture, Upshaw raised his finger and said something that would echo in Ventura's mind for years to come. "You boys need a union?" Those 4 words struck a chord. Here was one of the most respected labor leaders telling him straight up that unionization wasn't just a nice idea, it was an absolute necessity. That brief elevator ride wasn't just chance. It was a spark that ignited Ventura's resolve. Inspired by Upshaw's blunt wisdom, Ventura set out to organize his fellow wrestlers quietly, but with fierce determination. He believed change was possible, that the wrestlers deserved dignity and protection just like other professional athletes and entertainers. The idea of a union was no longer a dream, it was a mission. The locker room meeting. Trust shattered. But organizing wrestlers is never easy. The wrestling world thrives on camaraderie, but it also thrives on competition, ego, and secrecy. When Ventura and others planned a confidential meeting to discuss unionizing, they expected privacy and trust. No WWE officials, no cameras or tapes. Just wrestlers talking honestly about their futures and how they might stand together for better rights. Yet somehow, the news leaked to Vince McMahon, WWE's powerful chairman. How the information got out was a mystery that haunted Ventura. It wasn't just a breach of confidentiality, it was a betrayal of the wrestling brotherhood. The locker room was supposed to be a sanctuary, a place where performers relied on each other's loyalty because they literally put their lives in each other's hands every night. But now someone had chosen personal gain over that trust. For Ventura, it was gut-wrenching. The betrayal cut deep, not just because of the failed union effort, but because it came from inside, from a fellow wrestler who put their own relationship with management ahead of collective welfare. The shocking truth: Hulk Hogan, the informant. The truth emerged during a lawsuit when Ventura's attorney pressed Vince McMahon under oath. At first, McMahon denied knowing about any union efforts. But then, under legal scrutiny, he admitted he knew and revealed who had told him. It was Hulk Hogan. Hogan, the locker room leader, the biggest star, the man who publicly preached values of honor and courage, had quietly informed management about Ventura's unionizing plans. The revelation was stunning. It wasn't just a rumor or backstage gossip anymore. It was confirmed on the record. Hogan had betrayed his fellow wrestlers. Why? The answer lies in Hogan's unique position. At the time, Hogan was making more money than the entire WrestleMania 3 roster combined. The system that kept other wrestlers struggling was making Hogan incredibly wealthy. Supporting a union meant risking his status, his earnings, and his privileged position. So he chose self-interest over solidarity. The cost of betrayal: a broken industry and broken dreams. The consequences of Hogan's betrayal rippled through wrestling for decades. Wrestling remains one of the few entertainment industries without union representation. Many wrestlers still work as independent contractors, facing dangerous schedules, little to no health insurance, no retirement benefits, and no guaranteed income after their careers end. Countless wrestlers have suffered serious injuries, financial hardship, and isolation. Legends who gave everything to the sport often retired without savings or proper medical care. How many careers could have been saved? How many lives could have been made easier? Ventura's bitterness remains palpable even years later. The failed union effort was a turning point, not just in his life, but in wrestling history. Hogan's betrayal wasn't an isolated act, but a pattern that set the tone for his career. A career marked by self-preservation disguised as leadership. Hogan's creative control: a weapon of destruction. Hogan's influence didn't stop with the union betrayal. Beyond his in-ring persona, Hogan wielded a powerful backstage tool known as creative control. This contractual clause gave him the right to veto storylines or match finishes that didn't suit his image or agenda. For most top stars, creative control is a way to protect their legacy. For Hogan, it became a weapon. He used it not just to protect himself, but to manipulate the entire wrestling landscape. This power created a toxic environment where careers were built or broken based on Hogan's whims. The Starrcade 1997. Disaster when Hogan broke a storyline. One of the most infamous examples of Hogan's creative control gone wrong came at WCW's Starrcade in 1997. Fans had been waiting for over a year to see Sting, WCW's top hero, finally defeat Hogan's New World Order faction and reclaim the company's honor. This moment was supposed to be wrestling's equivalent of a heroic victory, the underdog triumphing, the good guys winning. The crowd was electric, the storyline perfect. But Hogan had other plans. He refused to lose cleanly to Sting. forcing a confusing finish involving a fast referee count by Nick Patrick. Instead of a satisfying victory for Sting, the match ended in chaos, leaving fans baffled and disappointed. Rather than a crowning moment, it was a muddled mess, one that hurt Sting's momentum and left many questioning Hogan's true motives. The pattern of political maneuvering and nepotism. This wasn't a one-time incident. Wrestlers like Sting and Eric Bischoff noted Hogan's consistent reluctance to put others over. Knowing his creative control gave him an edge, even when not explicitly used. Hogan's influence extended beyond storylines. In WWE, he used his political clout to sabotage rising stars like Bret Hart. Despite Hart's clear talent and fan support, Hogan allegedly blocked his ascension, arguing Hart was too small to be the face of the company. This was less about business strategy and more about Hogan protecting his legacy. Similarly, Hogan favored friends and allies, pushing wrestlers like Brutus Beefcake, Earthquake, and Typhoon into prominent positions regardless of merit. This nepotism led to poor creative decisions and alienated talented wrestlers hungry for their own chance. The fallout, a toxic culture and lingering resentment. Hulk Hogan's backstage maneuvering left more than a few bruised egos. It fostered a toxic environment that reshaped the very culture of professional wrestling. What was once seen as a brotherhood built on trust and mutual respect became a battlefield of whispers, alliances, and backstabbing. Wrestlers quickly learned that loyalty to Hogan wasn't just beneficial, it was essential for survival. Talent and hard work took a backseat to politics, and rising stars often found their momentum halted if they didn't fall in line. The locker room grew divided, with fear and resentment simmering beneath the surface. Hogan's ability to sway storylines, block pushes, and secure favorable deals for himself and his inner circle created an atmosphere where opportunity felt earned not by merit, but by proximity to power. His legacy, though legendary in the ring, cast a long, bitter shadow behind the curtain, one that many wrestlers still haven't forgotten. The legacy of Hulk Hogan's betrayal. Hulk Hogan's story is a cautionary tale about how one man's pursuit of power and wealth can unravel an entire industry. Behind the bright lights and cheers was a man willing to sacrifice his peers to protect his position. From betraying a historic union effort to manipulating creative decisions and careers, Hogan's impact extends far beyond his wrestling achievements. For those who lived through it, the wrestlers who trusted him and were burned, Hogan's legacy is not of a hero, but of a complicated figure whose actions shaped wrestling's darker side. Understanding this story is crucial to seeing professional wrestling not just as entertainment, but as a real workplace with real human costs. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more valuable updates.